Hey guys, how are you? So, we've heard from some great leaders about different emotions that we all may or may not have encountered. I am pretty sure that whether you're a stay at home mom, a work from home mom, um, not even a mom, maybe you don't even have kids, um, someone who works out of the household, um, regardless of your lifestyle, I'm pretty sure that most of us can understand and kind of sympathize what the feeling is when you're overwhelmed. So for me, it's I used to say that like just being overwhelmed was like my personal theme because I always feel overwhelmed. I always feel like I am waiting for a reprieve. I feel like I'm always waiting for a break in our busy lifestyle. Um, so I was really excited to cover this emotion because again, I can really connect with it. And I have found lots of different things that help me when I feel overwhelmed. Um, so if you have the book by Carolyn Mean, Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils. Beth talked to us about how to use this book, and I'm very thankful for that video because it can be a little tricky and how to navigate the book. So, what I did was I came to page 46. There is a chart here that talks about each emotion. And so I came here and found overwhelmed. Um, the other side of overwhelmed is vision. So having vision. When you're overwhelmed, you can't see the final outcome. You can't see your final goal because you are overwhelmed with the present and the things that may seem to be taking precedence over. One of my biggest faults is that when I feel overwhelmed, I'll make a list. Well, that list will go from anything from pay the bill that's due, next week to, oh, I really would like to recalk the bathroom, which all that does is make me more overwhelmed. Um, so so the idea here is you focus your energy on the things that need to be done. A lot of times when we feel overwhelmed, it's because we have the things that need to be done, but then we also pile on top of that things that we would like to do, things that we want to do. And we start feeling like all these things need to be done right now. I think that is another thing that comes from our society. Our society is in a, we want things now. We laugh and we joke about things like that, but just like Amazon Prime, Amazon Now, um, just email and things like that. We would never, if there was important information, we would never write a letter via snail mail and send it to someone because we want that information now. We want to share that information now. So I think that also contributes to that feeling of overwhelmed that a lot of people get. So the other side of that emotion is vision. And the affirmation, which I'll talk a little bit more about, but the affirmation is I focus my energy. I'm focusing my energy on the things that need to be done, the things that are important, that are, taking up that brain space. And the oil for that is Envision. So, there's a couple things that I'm going to talk about that I do to help with being overwhelmed, but we're really going to dive into the oil Envision. So number one, I love Super B. We all know that B12 is a vitamin that is well known for helping support your mood, your energy, concentration, and just your overall mental function. So when we're talking about brain clutter and things like that, we really need to support that brain function. So Super B is one of my favorites for that. Frankincense Vitality. We just heard from Sonia about how frankincense helps her get through her day. I put one drop or maybe two under my tongue, and I get almost an instant release just of like built up frustration. So what I started doing was I started doing it in the morning just as a preventative, and it kind of helps that feeling of being overwhelmed from coming. And once, if I do get a feeling of being overwhelmed, it helps me to react a little more logically than to just emotionally blow up. Release is another oil that I really love when I'm highly frustrated, which stems from being overwhelmed. But Lacey's going to tell you more about release in a little bit. So one of the things that I am very, very, very passionate about, and I really hope to incorporate into my oil business one day, is yoga. It's not an oil, and I know that. It's not a product from Young Living, and I know that. But yoga has been amazingly restorative for my mentality. It teaches you to embrace where you are in your life. And that can go to a more literal sense of like when you're at yoga, they teach you that when you're on your mat, you think about your mat. And if you have fleeting thoughts that come in and out, you recognize them, but you allow them to drift back away. So with yoga, your focus is on your intention for your practice. So your intention for that practice might have to do with your physical being, like, oh, I want to perfect this particular posture. But 9 times out of 10 for me, when I go to yoga, it is about calming my mind and allowing myself to feed my mentality and my physicality. When I'm home and I have kids running around and I'm trying to prep dinner or do work for my business, if I'm doing something like that, I'm not pouring into myself. I'm doing things that I want to do and things that need to be done, but I'm not feeding my my mentality or my soul. And for me, that's what yoga does. It helps me. I'm going away from my house, so I'm not looking at all the things that need to be done. I'm not trying to exercise with a toddler hanging onto my ankle, so I'm not thinking about what they need because they're at home with dad. So it's just a time for me that yoga is also about embracing yourself, your faults, your shortcomings, accepting and embracing the stage of life that you're in, and accepting that there are going to be hurdles with that stage of life. Every stage of life has them. I think a lot of us are in the stage of life with little children where we are either working away from the home or we're working in the home. Many of you have a business with Young Living, and that's tough. That's really tough. So, and sometimes it's hard to see past the here and now and the fact that, this is, it's tough. So Envision is probably, one of my favorite oils when it comes to being specifically overwhelmed or feeling like I have, too many things on my plate. So I'm going to just read a little bit of a snippet from the desk reference. Envision is a blend that renews focus and stimulates creative and intuitive abilities needed to achieve goals and dreams. It helps to reawaken internal drive and independence and to overcome fear and emotional blocks. So if you're one who gets overwhelmed often, you know that being overwhelmed can be completely paralyzing. And for me, it takes away my drive. So it's fantastic that it reawakens that internal drive and the independence. When I use it, I am able to clear the unimportant clutter and focus on what needs to be done. I'm able to see past the chaos that's happening now, and I can really focus my energy and understand that, okay, if this is my goal and these are the things that I need to do to get to my goal, then these are the things I need to focus my energy on. I don't need to be worried about, whatever, what I cleaned today, whatever, it needs to be focused and intentional on reaching your goals. So there's several oils in Envision, and I'm just going to very briefly go over them. We've got spruce and geranium, which both help to open and release emotional blocks. So, can talk about people who've been hurt in the past. They may have a block to starting relationships, or someone who has lost someone very close to them. Maybe they have a block to getting close with other people because they don't want to lose them. So those oils help to release those emotional blocks and those things that, I don't know if you guys have been doing the 21 days of prayer, but early in the 21 days of prayer, Monique talked about, oh my goodness, brain freeze. She talked about living in the past and allowing your past to define you. And I think this has a big, kind of goes with that hand in hand, because if you constantly remember what happened in the past, and when I failed at this happened, or when I didn't do XYZ, this happened. When you live in the past, that too will paralyze you from reaching your goals. Another oils are orange and rose, which both elevate the mind and spirit. We know rose has a very high frequency, so that's fantastic for your cells. Then we've got lavender, which we all know that lavender is calming, but I bet you didn't know that it also can aid in concentration. So one of my favorite blends for concentration is something that I just throw together, and it's vetiver, cedarwood, and lavender. And so that lavender really does help with concentration and just increasing your mental acuity. And then lastly, sage is in this blend, and sage was used by the Lakota Indians to purify and dispel trapped emotions. So Desiree talked about how those emotions are stored in our cells and literally can alter our DNA. So as you can see, Envision is a collaboration of oils that are calming and uplifting and purifying, and they all work together to clear an overwhelmed mind. It's definitely one that I use on a regular basis, and it smells great. So I am going to, I have this chart, and it shows the alarm point for being overwhelmed is you would apply Envision to the vision alarm point, and the affirmation that you're going to say while you're doing that is, I focus my energy. So you find the alarm point is just above the temple, and it's about a quarter size area, so you do have a little leeway there. But you would apply the oil Envision here while saying, I focus my energy. So that's Envision and Overwhelmed. And again, I really enjoyed researching this emotion because it's something that I do come across often. And I'm glad to know that I'm using the ones that are suggested. So there are always multiple oils that you can use. If the Envision is not quite doing it for you, you can always look at different oils that are in Envision and try the spruce. Maybe the spruce is what helps you the most, or maybe the orange or the rose. So I hope everybody learned a little bit, and I am excited to hear what Lacey has to tell us more about.